Hi folks, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always, a huge thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan. Regular viewers, subscribers will know that I try to get out at least once a month for an overnighter, and I've been able to do that since February of this year, 2017. It's now the last weekend of November 2017. I've been able to do that at least one night a month since back in February, so I'm doing okay, although this is the last weekend of November, so I'm achieving it by the skin of my teeth. If you're a regular viewer or subscriber, you'll also know that whenever I come out to do these overnighters, rather than just come out for the hell of it, I like to have some sort of plan or strategy or to-do list in my head that I like to go through. It just helps me to maintain focus and make sure that I'm not just coming out for the sake of it and I'm actually achieving something from it. And this month is no exception. This month I only really have one thing that I want to tick off this month, and that is I want to spend tonight, rather than being under a tarp, I want to build a debris shelter. Now, I've done this before. I think we've all done it as kids, where we pile sticks up against a tree and cover it in leaves and they immediately fall off and we get wet. I think we've all done that. Back in April of this year, and I'll link to it up here, the video, I did a course with Paul Kirtley and the Frontier Bushcraft team, and they showed us how to make debris/natural shelters correctly. And boy oh boy, did it take time. Now, we were building a two-man structure and I'm only going to be building a one-man structure, but it still took some time. It took a lot of time. It took several hours and there were a lot of us doing it. That was my key takeaway. I think the other takeaway was just how deep the build-up of leaves need to be on the outside of the structure to add to the insulation, the windproofing, the waterproofing and so on. That's what takes a lot of time. I'm very mindful of that. It is November. It is 10 to 2 in the afternoon, so I'm not going to have much light left for too much longer. So that's why that's really only one thing that I want to achieve from this trip out. I may do other things along the way. Tree and plant ideas, always something that's at the back of my mind. But really, if I can go away at the end of today, having spent a warm-ish, comfortable, dry-ish night in the woods, then I'll be very happy indeed. I'm also carrying in my gear my winter kit, so I brought out a few things that I don't normally. One is my silk sleeping bag liner, my bivvy boots for in my sleeping bag, and my winter sleeping bag. My last trip out in October was a little bit chilly in the night using my normal sleeping bag. So why don't I stop prattling on and why don't I start looking for somewhere to put this shelter up and start building it. See you later. As you can see, it's starting to come along. Takes a long time, took as long as I expected it to be perfectly honest. I'm always mindful, out that corner of my eye over there, I can see the sun dropping and dropping and dropping. Do I wish I had another hour to spend just on the framework? Absolutely I do. Do I wish that the sun was an hour or two higher in the sky? Yeah, absolutely I do. But it isn't, and I don't. So what I'm going to start to do now is to gather this leaf litter, this leaf debris, and start to put it on. Quite a lot is going to fall, well, some is going to fall through. I don't think it's a bad job, to be honest. Some of it's going to fall through. That will serve to insulate me from the ground temperature this evening. I may need to do a little bit of weaving of some fine sticks to close any of the larger gaps that you can see in the structure behind me. But let's start getting some of that leaf debris on, and let's at least start to build up some insulation. I'd rather spend time doing that now than start to hunt around in the dark picking up leaf litter. I'd rather go looking for branches and twigs in the dark than leaf litter. So join me and let's get finished. Let's start finishing off this shelter. as you can see, what I'm starting to do is bring the leaf debris in, but I'm filling in the base at the moment. I'm filling in the point where the ground meets the branches, and I'm putting a lot of leaf litter there. That's where all my efforts have gone so far, and the reason for that is building up a really good foundation, for want of a better word, a really good base there means that when I start to place the leaves further up the incline towards the point where, you know, where the point is, then there is a less chance of those leaves slipping off, because they've got a really good foundation layer at the bottom. That's got a good layer above it, that's got a good layer above it, and so on and so forth. So that's why I've spent a lot of time putting quite a lot of leaf litter and a lot of leaf debris around that base layer to give me a better chance of it all working later on. And that sun's still dropping. There it is, home sweet home for this evening, at least. Did it take me longer than I thought it would? I'll be honest, I don't really know. It seemed to take a long time. Certainly I could have had a tarp up, a fire on, a meal cooked, my bed out, and have gone to sleep in the time it's taken to build that. But it was a good experience. It kind of reminded me how long it takes. It reminded me of some of the things to look out for, such as the sticks when they cross. Make sure that they're not poking through the leaf litter, because if they are, they'll get wet and the water will run in, and basically you've got a hole in your roof, you've got a leaky roof. So there's a lot that came flooding back from doing that. That's the first time I've ever made one as good as that completely on my own, and it's certainly a lot of effort involved, a lot of calories being burnt. Certainly kept me warm. It's cold today. I know that it's cold. It's late November and it was cold when I got here, and it's only getting colder. I feel very, very warm. I've only got my leafer top up, and the only reason I'm wearing gloves is just to kind of protect my hands as I'm scraping the leaves so that they don't get cut or anything. So it warms you up a lot, burns a lot of calories. Clearly the two are connected. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just quickly stick in there, scrape out any twigs, sticks, anything that's fallen through or was there to begin with, get my bedding in there, and then I'm going to get on with this evening's meal. I'm cheating a little bit this evening, or am I? I'm actually going to go and have an MRE, a US meal ready to eat, a US ration pack. I found one on my shelf. It's got 3 or 4 months left before its best before date, so I'm going to have that this evening. Just thought I would treat myself, not have to slave over a hot stove, slave over a hot fire. I'm still going to get a fire going to make a brew, but I just thought I'd treat myself and have an MRE for this evening. Most of my effort for coming out today, like I said at the beginning of the video, was to get hands on building a debris shelter. Tick. Well, fancy seeing you here. So the morning after the night before, and I've got to say, and this is going to sound very cliched and perhaps somewhat unbelievable, it was a very cold last night, probably around 1 degree C, maybe even dropping to 0 at times. Very, very cold indeed. In here, in this shelter, in this sleeping system, it was incredibly warm. I can honestly say there wasn't a part of my body, head and feet included, where I actually felt the cold. Now, part of that undoubtedly is due to the fact that I've switched up my sleeping system to my 4-season bag. I got straight inside my silk liner, which I don't normally do. I normally wait during the night and get into that. All in all, though, the bag did a lot of the work. The shelter, though, I've got to say, part of the warmth and comfort I had last night would undoubtedly have come from the shelter itself. Didn't feel any drafts at all, which I normally do in a tarp, the way that I configure a tarp anyway. I normally feel it coming in the sides or coming in one end. Didn't have any of that last night. So I think a combination of the right equipment and a shelter that I've never built before, but spending quite a bit of time to get it right, all served for a very comfortable night. If I could give you a clue, I've had just a shade under, excluding waking up in the night and turning over and having a pee and things like that. I've had about 13 hours skip last night. It's ridiculous. I'm going to move out here permanently. But about a 13 hours kip last night, and it was a very, very cold night, and not once did I wake up because of the cold. It was, you know, just needing to naturally roll over in the night or have a pee and things like that. So very, very impressed. In terms of the shelter itself, it's a little bit too small, if I'm honest. At the foot end, as you can see in the photograph about now, you can see that I've kicked off, inadvertently, some of the leaf and some of the sticks that were holding the leaf in place. And that's because the shelter is slightly too short from one end to the other. The height is fine, it's from one end to the other. There's not a lot I can do about this at the moment, because if I need to extend it at the foot end, I'd need to take the whole shelter down. So what I am going to do, and I started doing it last night, is I'm actually going to put a porch on, if you like, or a half porch, a home extension, if you will, onto the actual head end, the entrance end of the shelter. I started doing it last night with my gear and with some leaves and things like that, a big pile of leaves, but I think I'm going to just take this notion of putting long sticks and branches at an angle against the porch end, and then I'm going to extend that way rather than to the foot end, because I'd need to rebuild the whole shelter. But all in all, very, very warm, very, very dry, very comfortable night, and I'm very pleased that I spent the time putting this together rather than just defaulting to putting a tarp up because it was quick and easy. I learnt a lot from the experience, and have to say it's led to a good night's kip, so I think I'll keep that up my sleeve in the future. Another overnight adventure draws to a close, as does almost November, and of course we're then rushing headlong into December, and then we're rushing towards the end of the year. Where's it going? I have no idea. In terms of last night's overnight adventure, it was quite different to some of my others insofar that I didn't have 3 or 4 things that I wanted to practice or refine or try for the first time. It was just that one. It was just the leaf shelter, the debris shelter. I was about to say I really enjoyed making it. I didn't really enjoy making it. It was quite boring. It was quite time consuming. It was quite monotonous. I enjoyed the benefits that it gave me. Don't get me wrong, I had a wonderful night's sleep, and I feel quite proud that I've created that. But the process of creating it isn't the most riveting thing in the world. It took me quite a bit of time, but looking back on it, as we were going through that build process, I started to refine my technique. Just from how I was collecting the leaves into a pile, I refined that, made it quicker, made it more effective. How were I moving the leaves to the shelter? I refined that. That became quicker and more effective in terms of time and effort. So I'm sure the next time was to make one of those, I'd take those little pointers, put them into practice, and the process would hopefully be a little bit quicker. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. It is different to most of my other overnighters. I hope you've taken something away from the leaf shelter that I created, maybe something that I've done slightly differently than what you do. Maybe you do something slightly differently. Maybe I was missing a trick somewhere and actually I was making it more work and more hassle than it could have been. If you spotted that, please do let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to learning from other people, so please do share your ideas and tidbits if you like. If you enjoyed watching the video of those shares, give it a thumbs up. If you think there's somebody in your network that would benefit from watching this, you know where that share button is, please do click on it. And as always, if you're not yet a subscriber, please do click on that subscribe button. It's appearing in this corner of the screen here. and you'll become a subscriber. Throughout this video, I've been mentioning my sleeping kit and my sleeping system, and especially when I woke up this morning I commented upon it. There is a video in this corner of the screen that talks through that particular sleeping system, so please do click on that and have a look in a bit more detail about how I organise my sleeping kit. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.